Alright, so we're actually going to be doing this video without edits because I'm kind of trying to make a point here. Now you notice I'm not on camera right now. I know. Weird, right? Haven't turned into the Invisible Man. Yes, this is actually live here. I'll demonstrate. See? Fingers, fingers. See what I mean? Now I could be timing this, but I'm not here. I'll go ahead and get on the camera. I'm trying to make a point here. So let's go ahead and get it out there. Fake versus putting on your best face, right? I don't really have a better way to put that. I've already told you guys pretty openly and honestly that I kind of fake, but not really, most of the things I do here, but that's all just to be honest, if that makes any sense. I already did a video about that, but what I'm actually referring to is something slightly different. Speaking as someone who has worked in television, in theater, and in video game production, more than once in each instance, I might add, I've always felt that there's a very defined difference between when you're faking it and when you're trying to put on your best face, okay? Let me try to explain what I'm talking about. Every time I do one of these videos, I do a few things to prep myself, okay? I don't just start up the camera and go. I used to, actually, but nowadays, you know, I make sure that I'm at least relatively decently dressed. I make sure that, you know, I'm relatively well-shaven, taken care of, clean, you know, all sorts, you know, just general stuff, grooming, right? I could give you all the sordid details, but I sincerely doubt you actually want to hear that. So the point is, I try to make myself look as decent as I can, and I always prep for these videos. You know, I run through them in my head. I've told you that. I run through rehearsals in my head. I try to do things with my nose to help with my breathing problem because of that whole thing I can never think of the name of in my nostril, you know, all that sort of stuff, right? This is not unusual. Most people do this, but in my opinion, none of this is faking it, because all I'm trying to do is present to you me, and it is still me. I'm just trying to present the best side of me that I can. A production values kind of a thing, you know? I'm just trying to be groomed, you know? Like I said, I'm trying to show you my best face. Now, I know a lot of people, well, let's actually leave that topic for a second, because let's talk about faking it. Now, let's say if I came on here with a whole bunch of makeup and an actual costume, and I was playing a role, and I was trying to make myself look younger or older, or I was wearing a wig or something, you know, or I had like fake earrings on or something like that. Something to portray myself in a different light that I am. If I were to actually create a fake persona to show myself as on the video, that's a good idea of the kind of thing I'm talking about with fake. A fairly large number of people do fake, and I'm not going to decry that. Let's make this clear. I'm not saying one of these is a positive and the other is a negative. I just think it needs to be delineated that they are very different from each other. If I was trying to do a persona here, then that would be faking it. I'm not. I'm trying to show you the best side of myself, which is exactly what I just said, the second category. You with me? Now, as I said, having worked in theater especially for so long, and in television, I've noticed that there's a huge difference in what people think is the line between those two. And for me, it's, you know, it's really obvious. I basically just gave you the line. But I know a lot of people who think it's faking it to do what I do. To dress myself up a little bit, to groom and do all the little things that I do. Some people I know in professional, you know, back when I used to do that sort of thing, would say that is faking it, because it's only, you know, you're only trying to put on your best side when it's as if the camera just turned on and you didn't know it was there. That was their definition. I know some people who would go in the opposite extreme and would say that it's not faking it if you're putting on a persona. If you put of yourself, it's kind of a weird thing, but you know, as long as you're not doing something completely contrary to yourself, like for example, if I was to play a Nazi, yeah, that would be faking it. But if I was to play an evil mad scientist, well, that's just don't read into that. But no, in all seriousness, that is kind of where I'm going with that. That faking it is when you're actively flat out lying in your performance rather than portraying something that you can at least get into, have some passion or enthusiasm about. And that isn't faking it. That's, again, and you get where I'm going. Where the line is kind of varies between the two. Now, you're probably wondering why I bring this up. It's because, and I know you're probably going to laugh at me about this, but presenting myself to you guys is something that I think about fairly often, and I mean how to do it, what exactly, the specifics, the details, the lighting, the camera positioning, my positioning, the setup of the microphone, such as it is, because, you know, I've always got these things. I've been looking into a mic option, but it's going to be a couple hundred, and, well, with the medical bills and the fact that I have to renew my car insurance this month, that's probably not going to happen immediately, but you get the point, right? all these things I think about basically constantly. And whenever I'm getting prepped to do a video, I start thinking, okay, I go into the mirror, I'm like, okay, my skin's kind of dry, so let's get some oil here, okay, and okay, let's do this, let's shave this, all right, let's make sure this is here, let's do this. I'm trying to I hate to keep using this word because I don't have a better one, groom myself so that I do the best that I can for you guys. Now, I know you guys don't exactly request that, but this is the kind of thing I think about because, and this is my reason for doing this, and I'll say it flat, it's because I care. I could just show up like, hey, what's up? And just, I'm sorry, that's a bit of an extreme, but I could just show up as I am in my, here, I'll even show you because it's actually right here. Because I usually wander around the house, because I work at home, in pajama clothes, like this one, my big ol' violet shirt. This is actually a really, really, really comfortable shirt. It's awesome. It's a little big for me, if you can't tell, but it's super comfortable. It's also kind of see-through, just because it's old. But whatever. It's my comfy shirt. It's got a few holes in it, but that's exactly my point. It's got a few holes in it. It's ratty. It's very loose looking. It doesn't actually look good on me. It's comfy, and I wear it because I don't give a damn when I'm just sitting around the house doing work, right? When I'm actually on camera, I give a damn about how I look and about how I present myself. So this goes away. And I try shirts. This is actually the third shirt I tried out for this. I did a few camera tests before I did this, just to get across the point I'm trying to get here. Now, what I'm trying to discuss here, and because there's always a discussion here, right? Whether or not it is a positive or a negative to do either. And I think this needs to be discussed separately. Do you think, for example, that trying to put on your best face for the camera or whatever is a positive or a negative? Now, I'm going to go ahead and toss out some arguments for both here. Positive side, I'll go ahead and throw out a few about why I do it personally. It shows that I care. It shows that I actually bother to try. It's like when you show up in an interview and you show up in that nice outfit and you've just you've just pressed it and everything's good. That isn't really you, right? That's not really what you're presenting. What you are showing is that you care, right? At least that's the theory. Back when I used to actually do interviews, I haven't actually been interviewed for a job in a decade and a half, but I'm serious. I keep just kind of falling into jobs. I know, it's weird. But back when I used to interview, back in the 90s, that's what you did, right? And that's why you did it, to show that you cared, to show that this matters to you enough to put forth the effort. If I could use another analogy, it'd be like when you're going out with somebody that you care about. It doesn't have to be romantic, by the way. Just someone whose opinion matters to you. You try to dress yourself up enough. You don't have to go all the way. You don't have to be like super, but you dress yourself up enough so that you are showing through your actions that you actually care about your interactions with this person. You see? That's one positive. Let's talk about a negative. The negative is the obvious. I know I already said this, but the gray line between, showing your best face and faking it is something that is a matter of debate, not definition. And therefore, by simple fact of that truth, I could be, by some people's definition, faking it right now. Now, by my own definition, I am not. But the point is the mere fact that this is not 100% naturally, really me, that I haven't just turned on the camera and said go, that I've done rehearsals, that I've been thinking about this very discussion in my head while I was taking a shower just now. All that stuff, this is not 100% naturally me, and therefore you could say the argument that you are not getting what it is you want from this, especially if that is what you specifically want from your performance, right? Makes sense? Another positive I could say about this, the positive is that overall human beings are very aesthetic people. I would almost go so far as to say 100% aesthetic if you actually asked my opinion on the matter. Everyone has their own sense of it, right? But what I mean by this, and you learn this when you work in television especially, you learn that people draw visual cues without really meaning to a lot. You ever dissect a commercial sometime? Older commercials. Newer commercials are junk. But seriously, you ever dissect a commercial sometime and really pay attention to how they do things and why they do things? So much of it is basically designed to be a visually appealing thing in one way or another. Therefore, by trying to make this effort to make myself at least moderately aesthetically pleasing to this, to my presentation here, I am, that could be considered a positive. That can be construed as a positive thing by trying to gain your interest and make it so. And what I mean by this, do do keep this in mind, okay? Because I do think there is a limit between this and, let's say, if I was female and I had a giant rack and I was trying to show it off as much as possible by standing like this the whole video. That's different. In my opinion, that's going over the fake line. But that is my opinion, of course. We already talked about that. What I am trying to demonstrate here is different. It's the stuff you don't notice, okay? It's the fact that if I didn't draw attention to it, like if I was wearing that shirt over there, you probably would notice, oh, there's a hole over there, or what's that spot over there, or why is it that there's like this fleecing on the left side, you know? These are the kind of things that you would notice and would bother you just a little bit as you're paying attention to it or as you're watching it. Possibly not even consciously. It depends on how much you're actually paying attention or whether or not you care enough to think about what you're thinking. So that kind of thing, it can have that kind of a negative impact, and therefore and the reverse is also true. It can have a positive impact as well. It's the kind of things you don't even notice. Well, you know, they're decently posed and he's got the shirt and all that. You get where I'm going with this, right? Let's go with one last negative before we move on. Another ironically, though, I wanted to construe this straight into this. The other negative is, ironically, the same exact thing. Because of the fact that I am trying to portray this thing in a way that doesn't draw your attention negatively, but does so positively, once again, you could argue that I am trying to deceive you, that I am trying to lie to or manipulate you by making myself appear better than I actually, am. And that's actually a hard thing to argue against, because it's one of those things where, if we look at people at their worst, just about anybody in the world is going to look terrible, right? That's just life. We all kind of accept that at one point or another. I'm not even talking about like celebrities and crap. I'm talking about real people, you or me. We all look terrible when it comes down to it. And so I can't argue against that is what I'm trying to say. If you saw me in my full terribleness, yeah, I'd look awful. I guarantee it. I would look bloody horrible. You would look at the screen and go, and that would happen, right? So it could be argued that I am basically deceiving you by doing this, and I actually can't argue against that. So I guess I'm just going to stop there. That's positive as negatives. Now, let's talk about faking it, really faking it, okay? I actually would argue I've never really faked it on camera. Not really. Okay. On this show, obviously, back when I did television, back when I did voiceover work, back when I did theater a lot, I faked it a lot because that was what I was doing. It was my job. But what I'm trying to get across here is when I do this thing, I don't think I could ever point to anything that, in my definition, I have faked it. But let's go ahead and go over just a couple quick positives and negatives of faking it. Let's say I was to show up and I completely invent a whole new character, okay, that I am going to portray. We'll call him Kefke and Jaya. Wait, no. We'll go with that. Let's go with Whoop, got the cable. Hang on, cat. We got the cable. Hang on, we gotta get rid of it. Yeah, I know. There you go. There we go. Okay. Hi. What are you doing? You are so weird. Stop batting at my controller. God, you're weird. Let's say I invent a whole new persona, right? And this whole new persona is basically... Alright, just off the top of my head. We'll call myself Manuel, because that's like the least me thing I can think of. And Manuel is... I'm trying to think of things I'm not. Hang on. He's got very strong opinions about politics and about religion, and he constantly argues about them with everyone. And he is very argumentative, and he shouts at you for being stupid. You are so stupid. How dare you be so stupid to me? What is this stuff? Why do you get in my face with your stupid opinions? Go off and get away. I don't want anything to do with you. Screw you, man. That kind of a thing. I can't keep that up for long. Stop batting at the cables on my computer. Cat. My cat, Mateus. Actually, it's my sister's cat. Anyways, point being, it's not hard to understand the kind of thing I'm talking about with regards to faking it. To give you an example, just about any internet personality you see is faking it to some extent or another. There are exceptions, don't mistake me, but I got one right off the top of my head. I can't even think of his Ben Cronshaw or something like that. Zero punctuations guy, Yahtzee. His Yahtzee persona is different than him in real life. I've seen him in real life. I've interacted with the guy. I've read his work. He is a totally different person than what he portrays on the show. And there are other examples. I just wanted to throw out somebody fairly popular. that I figured most people would get. That he portrays a different personality. That is a character. You see where I'm going with that? That is, in my definition, faking it. Positives. First of all, the positive it is when you're portraying any fictional character. You have control over their lines, you have control over how they feel, you can direct it in whatever way you have. There's a degree of directorial control that you have when you're portraying a fake character that is significant. Now you have to do rehearsals, you have sometimes, use Zero Punctuation as a good example. He actually has a script he reads. Most people actually have a script they read when they do stuff like that. But the point is, you have that option, you have that control. Whereas me just standing up here being myself, I don't have a script. At absolute most, what I do is I have notes. And just to give you a literal example, just to be 100% with you guys, my notes consist of, and I'm going to read this word for word. This is from my last Voyager video. Engineers. That's that note. Next note. Ridiculous plot premises. That's that note. Next note, bad exposition, and so forth. That's all I do. It's just little things to jot my memory. When I'm standing here in front of the camera, all I'm doing is trying to go with the flow, as if I was actually talking to you, in other words. And I'm sorry, I feels like I'm trying to emphasize my style again, but what I'm actually trying to get across the point of is when you have a script, when you have a character, you have a great deal more control over what you present. When I get here up in front of the camera, there's always a little bit of nervousness. Well, okay, there's always a bit of nervousness, but because I'm just kind of flying with it here, I don't have a script. I don't know when I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to hit stop when I'm done. You understand? That's kind of why I was asking about that whole shortened videos thing recently. Because I don't have a set timeline. I hit stop when I'm done talking, because I'm just talking to you. If I was portraying a character, we'll just call him Arshangaya 2.0 or something, because what was the name? Manuel. We'll just call him Manuel. If I was portraying a character called Manuel, I could go up here and be like, and I would know that I'm done with that particular section of whatever I wanted to talk about. And then, hell, I wouldn't even have to pause the camera because I'd be editing probably. But, I'd be like, okay, well, my next section is going to be ranting about, I don't know, what's a hot topic right now? Feminism. Ranting about feminism. Feminism! I would have that control over it, so that's a positive. And that's especially a positive when it comes to the directors, the producers, etc. Maybe not necessarily actor, but you get my point. Let's talk about a negative. The negative is the obvious. You are getting a character presenting a role for your entertainment, not someone actually expressing themselves and their opinions. Whether that's actually a negative or positive is kind of debatable, but I personally put that in a negative for the kind of show that I do, which is thought, discussion, and enthusiasm. If I portrayed a character on here, which Lord knows I can do, I'm actually not that bad of an actor. I know I say I'm not, but I've done a crap ton of acting in my life. If I actually portrayed a character, you would be getting a character who is designed to entertain you, just like any other character. You would not be getting me. And I almost said my name there. You would not be getting the person who is trying to actually tell you, hey, video games are awesome! Let's discuss. You wouldn't be getting me. And I feel like that's a big negative on that. And I know, one of the points the point I'm really trying to get across with this whole video is that neither is, in my opinion, right or wrong, good or bad. Depends on the circumstances, depends on the individual, depends on what you want, depends on what you want at what time you want it. There are so many things, so many variables that go into this. And I'm curious of your guys' thoughts too. If anybody wants to share thoughts, go for it. I always welcome comments. Believe it or not, I actually read 100% of my comments. I don't always respond to all of them because I'm really, really busy all the time now, especially since I really have pushed full time for this thing. Patreon, woo! But go to my Patreon site. No, seriously. But I hope you at least will share your thoughts with me, and we can talk about it and that kind of thing. And I'm now, because I'm not doing video editing, see, I'm going to go ahead and wander over here, because now I got to turn off the camera. But normally, what would happen is I'd be like, "Pacha!" And then you'd see me just walk off, noiselessly, if you saw the unedited footage, I mean. And then I would, chop it off, and then I'd add, and then stuff over here. So, anyways, what I'm trying to say ultimately is peace.